I have a prediction for the future. No, I have not gone psychic. I haven't acquired any extraterrestrial mental abilities to see into the future. I haven't been victims of X-rays or gamma rays or anything. I just have a small prediction for the future. But I'm gonna rant a little bit first about the stupidity of feminists and the gender study puppeteers they have of the male audience, that it's tagging along in hopes to be able to get some. Now, I tend to follow the Swedish news media, sort of. I'm not that heavy into it anymore because it is now so far leftist and so biased toward the left and the extreme left propaganda that there is actually a minister in Sweden that he's not even on the right wing. I think he's actually more toward the center. But he said he tossed out his own TV set and said, fuck this, I'm only going to be streaming from the internet now, which is free in Sweden. Now the leftist media picked up on that instantly. How dare you not pay for this, and how dare you still take part of it? And he just calmly responded with, whatever you put on the internet and you put free to stream for everybody, that's your choice. That means I can see it too. But I will not be paying to see leftist propaganda bullshit on the main Swedish news channels. It's a sad thing the way they've built the equivalence of the British broadcasting company, the BBC, in Sweden. Here in UK, we actually have a say in what will be produced. We have the right to complain. We have the right to demand better. They actually work for the public. That's why BBC, which is sort of unique in this, but BBC, they produce so much entertainment and high quality shows and segments and programs and news and everything that is impressive, and it's copied almost all over the world. The Swedish, however, they had, last time I did check in, they may have changed it a little bit now, but I don't really see it on any Swedish TV. They decided only 10% of the budget that they get in through this forced collection because you have a TV, and yes, there's more coming to this story. 10% of that budget was spent to either buy or re-assimilate BBC shows called external culture, but we needed to focus on the Swedish culture, which is utter crap, to be perfectly honest. We haven't had a decent film made since we had the Bergmans around. There are very, very few people, and most of them fuck off to Hollywood instantly because Sweden doesn't have that culture anymore. It's just a few snobs. But I'm getting a little bit too far away from the feminists. Just wanted to point out that the difference in quality between that, as journalism in Sweden isn't... Well, you don't even need to be able to spell correctly in Sweden anymore to become a journalist that gets your shit published in the printed newspapers. Grammar. So, I think they've actually forgot what grammar is. I know I'm not good with grammar. That's because I on a daily basis do two languages. I do Swedish, I do English, and it just bounces back and forth and grammar just gets jumbled. But even I see the simplest of mistakes, like the S at the end of a word with or without an apostrophe. I'm just trying to give the comparisons. We're not talking about something that can be an honest mistake like you're and you are. Anyway, that's been far too long of a ramble on that. Back toward this article. This person that I knew when we were kids and forced together in the same school. This kid used to be very, I can't say bright, but there was no doubt that this person had the highest grades in the entire fracking universe. Probably a little bit because there's something wrong with the mind, as he's being so easily swayed as soon as there is something wrong toward women. So he has written an article here to talk about this testosterone and men and how bad we are when we have our own little zones, and that our macho zones, our male spaces where we retreat to, they're bad. We need to re-educate and reprogram, he says, the men. Because, fuck men should not have their free zones. It's not enough that men just give up their houses and move out back to have their own man cave. In this case, he's talking about two places that used to be very, very males dominated. We're talking about the sports culture, especially the supporter part of the sport culture, where you had the hardcore, die-hard fans. And that used to be a lot of blokes in the beginning, but women weren't really barred from it. It was just more a boys' activity. Standing out in the cold rain, freezing your butt off while you're watching your team fail miserably. And yeah, the referee was also a little bit of a jerk, but that was where men got away. They had a pint, they had 2 pints, yeah, sometimes anger, whatever, frustration because of the sport flared up. But nope, this is not good to have, so therefore feminists and gender study has decided that, yeah, it's good that we took over that space so that the men can't have it alone anymore. Because obviously men can't behave. Now he's also attacking the gamer culture. And guess what? This intelligent person from my youth forgot how to Google. He found Anita Sarkeesian, sure enough, and he found her one tiny little thread where she's trying to post up the hatred she supposedly received, but he forgot to look around a little bit more, like the second search result, which actually shows how much of a scam artist she is. He didn't even take, I seriously doubt he's even taken time to look through Anita Sarkeesian's videos, let alone anything that would refute it. I mean, everyone knows that Thunderfoot has thoroughly demolished it. I know the Cheshire Cat Studios has also done so, and The Amazing Atheist, and we have Mr. Repsion, and I don't know, there are probably hundreds, if not thousands of people that have managed to debunk every single claim that Anita Sarkeesian has made and actually prove her that she's wrong, or actually prove to us that she's wrong. She doesn't care because for her it's a money gig. I turned around and told him that, look, Anita Sarkeesian is a con artist, all this hatred that has been aimed toward her has been done by her and her marketing team. It's not even a surprise anymore. But why is he in on gaming culture? I mean, he's supposed to be a kind of writer. Well, clearly he knows nothing about the gaming culture, but the reason is the famous Swede on YouTube, Felix PewDiePie Kjellberg, 24-year-old kid, was supposedly going to be allowed to talk on some kind of radio show in Sweden. You know my earlier reference about the bad way Sweden has decided that they're gonna use the public funding for the shows and culture and whatnot to create. So they have this summer talk and he was allowed to talk. And I just found it so hilarious that PewDiePie is being compared to, say, a politician or a comedian. That why are we allowing, the author here is saying, why are we allowing PewDiePie to be this much of a jerk when we wouldn't allow a comedian or anyone else to do it? And I just go, hang on a minute. I know that the Swedish scene for entertainment and everything is, well, let me put it like this, it's not very free thinking, it's very, very narrow, and I can't really remember the last time I laughed at a Swedish stand-up comedian, because they don't push any boundaries. They don't cross any lines. They simply do not. And yet, yeah, if you go out one night in London and you go to the comedy store, you'll have more thought-provocative sentences hurled at you from the bartender than you would get an entire year of Swedish stand-up comedy. So with this article, he's trying to portray some kind of these free zones that men have must be taken away. And I'm starting to think the prediction I got from this, the epiphany, if you will, is that I know exactly what will happen in the future. It's just becoming so clear to me that now that I see that this is what they're proposing in the gender studies, this is what elite gender studies author, I wouldn't even, is such a distaste of having to use the word elite because he's not that good of a writer. Not even thinking, he's starting to have quite a lot of bad luck with that too, but that's beside the point. Now, what this article gave me is that when these gender studies are decided now, men should not have any free zone at all. Women must be included everywhere. And it's like, good for you girls, good for you feminists, good for you gender studies, good for you beta males and whatnot. You can stay here. But I know what will happen, and I know I've been teasing you long enough with this. But when we will be talking about getting out into space, when we're talking about leaving this planet and going on the long distance missions and everything, yeah, we will probably need women with us, but I can guarantee you there will be an overabundance of men that will sign up voluntarily, that will pay to get the fuck out of here. Because they have no more free zones. They don't get to have their man caves anymore. They don't get to have their gamer zones. And I'm not saying a gamer zone is exclusively male. It's a geek zone. It's a nerd zone that they take to retreat from wherever else the stupidity is. I cannot ever recall seeing the reverse happen. Geek demanding that women make space for them in makeup courses. Unless we're talking about something like LARPing and whatnot, where makeup is fairly useful. Or filmmaking, like what I do, where you can actually have use of makeup. But I don't see that being a demand from the geek culture that, hey, we demand that you make this area available for us. Like, we demand that in every corner store that you have these makeup stuff with blood, fake blood and dirt and wounds and stitches and whatnot. I can't see that anywhere. It's probably because the geeks are a little bit more reasonable than the feminists and the gender studies on this. And I don't know why they have decided that they need to barge in and destroy the zone. The article is acknowledging one thing that is true, but I don't think the author even knows what it means. And that is, when you get in on a comic book club geek level, when you get in on Warhammer on a really good geek level, when you play in a hardcore guild in World of Warcraft or Call of Duty or Battlefield or wherever this is, it's a very harsh, very competitive culture. And if you can't cut it, if you are not good enough, you don't have the skills, then you do not belong there and you will be quickly weeded out. But just like this whole thing with feminism, they want to be there because it's their right, even if they don't have the skills, even if they don't have the ability to play. And I'm sorry to say, most of these high-end competitive zones, they need the men. Football, tennis, even running, weightlifting. And I do know a few women personally in my life that can actually lift a shitload of metal on the bar. But they're still not as strong as the men that are on their level. I don't know what they want with this, and I'm sorry, I don't think I have a good ending for this video, so I'm just gonna round off now. I just wanted to point out that prediction that once it becomes publicly available to fuck off from this planet, I think the feminists have driven us men so crazy that we will actually line up. It wouldn't surprise me if there will be a few that actually will attach themselves with some duct tape on the outside of the spaceships just to get the fuck out of here. On a final note, I did point this thought out to my wife, and she had the best response I've ever heard. She turned around and said, "That's because we're training you men to go find new beach houses for us." It's pretty much the gist of what she said. It's like, fuck off and find us new property so that we can develop and bring feminism to it. And no, she is not the feminist. Until next time guys, thank you so much for watching. Peace out.